This is Between Hook Sets. I'm Chasen Walter from In Through the Outdoors with my partner in slime, Curt Underhill from the fishing crew.
What is up, dude?
Just about had another catastrophe again there. We were fiddling around with the background, and I was up on the out, almost hit the out coming in. But I caught it. I caught it quickly. So yeah, boy, I'll tell you what, I guess let's just spit it out here real quick. I'll pop this up. So Steve was going to join us tonight, but I guess kind of a tragic situation there, and he had to scramble. So
yeah. We'll try to get him on next week or so, but he had one of his guides. I'm not going to break one of his buddies / guides had something massive come up, so he couldn't join us tonight. But we will get Steve Biggers on, kind of give you a little backstory on for people that are going to be watching in the next couple of weeks. You know, we're mainly a fishing show, but we call it Between Hook Sets so we can talk anything, right?
Yeah,
and
right on.
I got to meet Steve Biggers at a pheasant hunt, and he is the owner of Rocky Creek Retrievers Team Waterfall in El Campo, Texas. And they pile up the ducks, man. They absolutely, I think he told me like 2,400 teal in 9 days this year already.
Oh, my.
Yeah, they have a 9-day teal season in Texas. Like, he's known for his teal hunting. He invited me to come down and check out his lodge. He wants to come up here and hunt with me. So I don't going to show him nothing compared to what he's going to show me. But
I'm going to show him a good time, though.
We're going to get Biggers on here soon. If you look him up, you'll find all kinds of stuff. Mojo Outdoors does shows with him 3-4 a year. If you're a duck hunter, you know who, or maybe you don't, but Ramsey Russell is like the renowned duck hunter of the world. And if he puts his seal of approval on your lodge, it's something. So,
okay.
Yeah. So Ramsey hunts with him. Steve sent me a podcast he was on with Ramsey, and they call it the premier teal spot in the world. So I cannot wait to get Biggers on and hear all about what he's got going on down there, because I am a waterfall hunter, and
big time, aren't you?
Yeah, and I enjoy it. So just shifting off fishing a little bit, we're getting into that season where there are a few big fish being caught, not by Chasen.
No. As a matter of fact, that's all I'm doing is chasing, and frankly, it's annoying, but whatever. I'll figure it out eventually. I go through these spurts where I can catch some fish and then I can't. I don't know what the hell's going on, but I'm just not fishing enough, I guess.
Yeah, but you know what? It's that time of year. Water temps changing. The big fish starting to bite. Some fish are, I haven't even touched the lake other than a duck pond. Brian Tipton, let's talk trolling on Lake Oahe, course, weights and plugs. We can chat about a little bit of anything. I mean, if we got somebody that wants to pop in tonight, we can send them a quick link and get them in the studio. We're just here to kind of shoot the shit and talk whatever, but big, kind of wrapped up tournament season already. Some big news in the tournament world. If anybody's watching the walleye side of things, you got Ames coming out with their next circuit, and head to head, if people remember what that was, started out as a, bracket, call it the final, what do you call it? March Madness college basketball bracket style fishing. They're going to do a pro walleye circuit. They're calling it the PWS. Cool. I like it. I like the lakes they're going to. Schedule's pretty awesome. Right lakes, right time of year. My holdup is its catch, measure, release. I'm not a fan.
It's boring.
It's boring. Weigh-ins. You watch pitchers go across. Why go to a weigh-in? Because you kind of know who won it if you follow along online. Bassmasters does it with Bass Track, but them guys fudge those numbers. It's kind of accurate. But at the end of the day, you never really know. And my biggest thing with catch, measure, release is you can't tell me every 20-inch fish weighs the same.
No.
And their other thing is it's limited length. So it ain't your best 5. It ain't your best 10. It's catch 100 fish a day and measure every one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I'm not into the format as a fan.
Yeah.
Uncle Lou, how do you do?
They were
just not my thing. I like to see fish come across the scale, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. And I mean, people get upset that we kill fish and whatever else, but
doesn't matter.
We need a mortality rate on fish. Later this year, we get the biologists on. We'll talk about it. We're going to get the biologists on later this season. We did Mark Finsel last year. We're going to bring Mark Finsel on again. We're going to try to do some other biologists from other regions to talk to them about, the Northeast, the South, all the different biologists to kind of talk about our fisheries in South Dakota. Maybe we'll reach out to some other ones. Hey, I think Mark's
coming. Mark, hold on.
Literally before the show started, Chasen said, "I'm not ready for all this ice shit."
Yeah.
Well, T-Rap, Trapper Jones is up. But yeah,
I don't know. I just you the more you listen to biologists, you listen to the hatchery guys. Yeah, and it's Finsel said it when we had him on months ago, talked about the mortality rate and the fact that these fish are just down there dying. If we're not catching them, they're dying. So you know what? I'd rather catch the doggone thing than to have it die and not even ever see it or know that 18-pound walleye is there. Keith Pazur's walleye. I'd rather see that on Keith's wall or have him holding in a picture, or Aaron Shucker or whatever. I mean, god dang. There's plenty there. So okay, so now let's go back to that first question and let's not blow over that whole thing, but trolling on Oahe. Brian, is there somewhere you want to start there? Because honestly, I could start talking about that and we could, talk for 3 days on it. And I could talk about how confused I am by it. I could talk about what I saw last weekend, how I might have maybe done it different. Were we fishing too deep? I think so. Were we marking the wrong fish, pulling cranks? Yeah, maybe. Did we cover a ton of water? Sure. 100 miles of shoreline. I mean, whatever. But, are we too heavy with our snap weights? Do we really need to have 8 and 10 ounce snap weights? Okay, so Whitlock and a Casca. Man, I'll tell you what, right now, there are a lot of guys that are catching walleye pulling cranks. I think there are more people catching walleye pulling cranks than live scoping over the trees right now.
Yeah.
You look at some of the guys like the angry walleye guys. Is it the angry walleye?
Yep.
That guy, those guys are out with those skipper boats, whatever. Those are awesome boats. They can handle 10-foot waves without a problem. They're catching fish and they're pulling cranks. I've seen their setup. I've looked at it. They've stayed at South Whitlock, and I've had a chance to get a gander. I haven't had a chance to talk to them. Now, if they're there this weekend, I'm going to make it a point to walk up to camp there and just see what they've got to say. I'm kind of curious.
Yeah.
But I think we're wasting our time pulling cranks over the trees. I think you're going to have to go pull cranks in shallower water.
So I talked to somebody that was up there this weekend, had his 4 fish. He was fishing, trying to find seat break lines in that 30 to 40 foot of water. Got his 4 fish in no time. Never had a big one, but caught 4 fish. Caught 4 fish relatively easy. Mm-hmm. And I think you're right. Like pulling Brian, your question to get into pulling crankbaits is, there's a lot of different stuff on leg core, snap weights, planer boards. I mean, we can get a couple guys on here in the near future to discuss all this, but I'm kind of I'm always a 8-ounce snap weight guy. I mean, that's how I grew up. It was developed right here in Pier, pulling snap weights. It was always 8-ounce. Get them things down. I don't care how deep you are. Get those baits down to where you're at and run your stuff. I've watched guys try to pull snap weights in the trees. I feel like that personally, my thought on it is you're just going to lose. I mean,
you're losing. I've lost.
But I mean, Keith Pazur caught the state record pulling a snap weight over top of trees. I mean, but you got to be watching and be able to reel your lines up and go up and down and do all the things. Like I said, I run, Brian, you said 4 or 5s and 8s. Mm-hmm. I've always was told just run 8s, like 8-ounce snap weights. Seaberg's coming in with torpedoes. I know Tom's a big torpedo guy. Now if you look, I just saw a video online this weekend. The Precision Trolling app is now adding torpedoes.
Oh, nice.
Into their data. So if you don't have that, that's a huge thing. If you want to learn to pull cranks,
got to get it.
$100, get the Precision Trolling app.
Yep.
You can pick about any bait out there, a couple different line types. It'll tell you exactly how far to run that bait out.
Yeah, you've got to. I was kind of hoping that. Because I don't have the whole thing because I'm not a big cranker, but it's got. I always forget about. That's not what I wanted. I was hoping for the. You've got the, and you can't see it. Forget it. I'm just going to set it aside. It's the Bible. It's literally, it's the Bible, right? That whole book that you can't find anymore is now all online in an app, and it's amazing.
Trapper wants to know what kind of books you read while you troll, or sandwiches you eat. I mean, I'm a crankbaiting guy. I'm a crankbaiting guy. Get the lifetime 100%.
Yeah, no doubt.
20 foot or 10 foot or 20 foot when you clip on. We were always running
20 or
30 out, clip the weight and drop it to your depth. That's what we always did. 30 out, clip your snap on and go down.
But at 10, you're just too close to the crank. You're way too close. At 20, I've done 20 to 25 in a shallower lake, like in a basin lake, 20 feet deep, say Lake Ponset, Thompson. But I'm also using 3 or 4 ounce snap weights, so it's a little bit different situation there. But still, you want to have that distance from your snap weight to your crank as well, and then it depends on the crank you've got. If you're running because you're weighted, you can get that thing down into I guess what they say is the strike zone, right? You can get it there, but are you using deep divers? You'll think about that, and remember, when you've got that lead weight down here, and you've got your crank that you're pulling along at 2 miles an hour.
I think we just need to get Seaberg on. He just keeps typing in here.
Right. Well, but he's got the juice on the whole deal, right? But yeah, so I think it depends, and that's why I watch it on live scope, because I know where my weight is and I know where my crank is. I don't need to know where it is all the time, but I like to know.
State record holder says heavy snap, short lead. So what is your lead, Keith?
There we go. That's what I want to hear. If he says 10, I'm gonna. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I've tried 10, and it just doesn't. 10 feet's not very long, and you're making noise with that snap weight, and that's all fine and dandy. But this is why Brian asked the question, right? So we throw all these ideas out here.
Keith says under 20.
Under 20. Okay.
I'm gonna try to get an update here, and Seaberg, you're gonna get
gonna send him a deal.
Can you do it? It's not popping up on mine for some reason.
Length of the rod. No kidding. So if you're using an 8-foot rod, your leader is 8 feet, not where you're snapping the weight. Am I getting a little off there? We're talking about leaders and we're talking about where we're placing the snap weight.
I think he's saying he's running a snap weight under 20 is what I'm guessing, not leader of line.
And Seberg is talking leader of line. So he's talking 8 feet of floral or mono, depending on what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. So length of the rod. That would make sense because I snap weight the length of the rod. Wow.
We'll see if Tom pops on. There he is. He's walking, he's moving. I'll let him sit down quick, and then we got Tom L. Seberg the second. Just random bring him in here.
Yeah, I didn't know he was a junior, but now we know.
So we're gonna get him set down here, and we'll add him in because like I said, there's a lot of stuff. Tom's a pretty good troller. We got a bunch of different questions, but that is the topic right now: trolling crankbaits up in Casca, Whitlock's area has been very successful.
And here again, then it's the brand too. It's the type.
The clothes on, yeah, we do too.
That's funny.
Hey, Tom, how are you, buddy?
Hi, Tom.
Jeez. Yeah, I got clothes on.
Yeah, I can see that. Thank goodness there.
We're just a bunch of rum-dums over here, and we're getting all these questions in here. Like Trapper wants to know, does line matter too? Braid, mono, floral, size of line. We're talking.
Yeah, there's and everybody's got their own trial and error system. That's the thing. When people start asking trolling questions, I kind of almost have to laugh because there is so many right answers to everybody's question, because once you have your style and what you have made it your program, you can tweak to make that work what's best for you. And you just got to have that, that peace of mind that that what you're doing is right. Regardless, it may not be the same as somebody else, but it still works right.
Yeah, the confidence factor, right?
Yeah.
That plays into it big time. If you're confident with a 12-pound leader and 25-pound braid and whatever, if you want to snap your weight at 10 or 20 or
geez.
He changed his name to A. Walter after you logged on as Tom L. Seberg.
That is my middle initial. My middle initial is A. So it's like, what's your middle name?
And that's what happens when I open it on my phone. I'm trying to get my laptop up, and of course it's not showing on there yet. More money. Oh yeah.
Uncle Lou caught up in some money here, but yeah, like I said, pulling crankbaits there. There is wrong answers, but is there a lot of wrong? You know what I mean? Like, it's a scenario where you kind of got to go out and try it.
Yeah.
And
then
every crankbait pulls different. Walleye Nation Creations, you're going to pull them slower. And
that's the thing. Like, guys, I tell them if they want to pull a crankbait, just put it on a mono rod and put it beside the boat and see how fast you go before that crankbait blows out.
Yeah.
Or starts losing its action, because there's times that, like, one of the big things is a scatter wrap on like Erie. There's a lot of guys that are using tadpoles and torpedoes and using scatter wrap, was their scatter wrap's not a deep diver.
Right.
But yet when you put that with, an 8-ounce snap weight or a torpedo, it doesn't matter if it only dives a foot. Now with the scatter wrap, you can make it go 20 feet deep.
Yeah, you're putting it where you want to, depending on the depth of the weight, which makes a ton of sense because you can use an original floater.
Yes.
And snap weight, so whatever. But I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you can't troll every crankbait exactly the same. If you're setting at 2 miles an hour, 1 3/4, 2.5 miles an hour, and you start pulling a flicker shad versus a bandit versus a Smithwick Rogue Perfect 10, you're not pulling them all exactly the same. Just, no,
100%. You can't, because they just don't run the same. Like, each crankbait's got its own sweet spot where you get the best action. And then, and I always kind of laugh when somebody goes, well, just tell me what I need to buy to set up for trolling. And I'm like, that's a loaded question, guys, because there's so many different ways. I'll run different snaps on two different rods, different than the other two. So like on your snaps, you can get the longer elongated snap, right? And then I'll get two of the rods with the big oval snap. Well, if you watch, those crankbaits will perform differently.
Sure.
And then if you direct tie, it performs differently also. So it's all, once you figure out, okay, I always tell people, what's the bait profile? That's number one. Like, figure out bait profile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then after that, figure out, okay, which one do you have the most of? Because truth be told, if you're pulling cranks, if you ain't ready to lose 10 of them in a day, especially on a wahi, then don't even try it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember years ago, the Berkeley trailer was in town. Buddy that doesn't fish much, we went down there, and flicker shads were new, right? I think the rebate was, with the mail-in rebate, they were like $1, under $2, call it. And he's buying 3 or 4, color different ones, and I'm reaching the back of the peg and dragging them off.
Yep.
And he's like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, well, you see, if we're out and purple's biting and you don't have purple, you're going to want my purple.
Yep.
And he goes, okay, so then buy 2. And I said, then you lose one.
Yep.
Okay. Then buy 1 extra. No,
no,
it just doesn't end. You reach the back of the peg and you drag them in.
Yeah.
You never buy less than 3.
Yeah.
Never buy less than 3. Ever.
And I buy 5 at a time. When I buy a color or a size, I do 5. And especially with me guiding is, okay, I know there's 2 rods that are going to have that crankbait on. So that gives me 2 backups.
Yeah.
So, and then the third, everybody's like, well, you got another one. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's to keep in the box. That way, when I'm out of them, I know how to,
yeah,
which ones it was, because you always get it. You get it at the end of the day and you're like, what color was that? Was it, but if you keep one, then you can go, oh, that was the crankbait I was using. Right.
Yeah. I mean, and like I said, it's such a loaded question. I mean, snap weighting was kind of developed right here in Lake Oahe, and it was to get smaller baits down faster without putting 300-400 foot of lead out.
Yep.
And so you just get them down really quick, and then you can churn tight. You can do a lot of stuff that you don't normally do, because your baits are straight below your boat.
Mm-hmm.
And
Correct.
We would always go fish the taco stand and put the snap weights down so they would clip the top of because there's humps out there, and we clip the top of the humps with our baits. That was the key. And then they'd come off and a fish would hit them. Yep. So it was 30 foot, snap a snap, 8 ounce, drop her down.
Yep.
Get that bait into the strike zone.
And the biggest thing is, people say, well, you got live scope now. Well, live scope is your best friend with cutting, because when you start putting an 8 ounce, 5 ounce, whatever, a torpedo on, and you face that backwards, now you can fine tune. So you're going downriver. So now you're going with current. So the crankbait is not diving as deep as if you're going up current. And you can all see that a lot more detailed with watching live scope. And depending on how you can set up, you can literally, like when we're trolling top of the trees and torpedoes, I'm sitting at the very back by my torpedo rod and I'm watching the screen. I can really just literally reel that torpedo up over the top of the tree, drop it back down, up top of the tree, back down. So, and that's the lead core thing, putting out so much lead core, it gets hazardous, because now you got to worry about losing a fish, so.
And you're too far behind the boat with the snap weights. You just don't, man, you can do, matter of fact, last weekend we fished with rods that were 30-pound mono. I'm like, whoa, hold the phone here. I'm loving this 30-pound mono thing on the snap weights rather than even the braided line. And I'm like, okay, I think I'm pulling all my lead core off because I really didn't use it that much, because it's hard to go out and pull snap weights over trees with lead core by yourself. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, here it
Right
comes.
to the ice.
Yeah, that is. I will, I will go ahead and throw it out there. Anybody that's listening, if there's more questions, I'll be at the Ice Institute this weekend. My son Jacob will be at the JT booth. I'll be kind of floating around at some of the different vendors, but it's just crazy how it's, trolling was what everything was for, the last up till what, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, and I make the joke, my garage, I have a tote that proves that trolling was the king, right? Because and I still use them so much for guiding, because it's a lot easier to have 4 people in the boat, put out 6-8 rods and pull a stretch than it is to try to get everybody cycle through on the front bow with live scope. But there is times, I believe, and there's people that argue with me, but it's proved every year on Oahe, especially, that cranking still can get big numbers of big fish in the boat quicker than live scoping.
Yeah, it's
And-
working now. I mean, that's what we're seeing out here right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and like Luber said, efficiency.
Yep.
You can cover water, you can do the different things, and if you really want to get into the talk of getting through the trees, you want to get in there, you put the spinner baits down.
100%. Big Eye spinner baits was developed out of, Nebraska right here, because McConaughey, that was where all that started, was pulling 2-ounce spinner baits with lead core, and you put a 2-ounce spinner bait with a 5-ounce snap weight.
Amazing.
There's not a depth you can't run that in.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have believed it. Matter of fact, I didn't believe it. I'm like, what? I just don't get it. And then we did it one day. I'm like, okay, now I get it. I understand.
Yeah. Run them through them trees and they bang through them, and the fish hit them. So, I mean, there's a lot of, like I said, the trolling conversation can go on for days and days and days with this, because we can talk. I mean, we haven't even hit planer boards or core, mono versus fireline versus leg core versus, I mean, you got so many different things, but I mean, I think try it, right? Get the precision trolling out. We're not sponsored by them. We get nothing from them, but it's a Bible. Like it's your first step. If you're going to go do it, get that thing. It's going to get you to the depths you want. So you get you close. Like you said, currents play a factor. Different things are going to play a factor, but you're going to get close.
Better than if you're guessing.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
One thing that I think I will say that is the biggest thing that I hear that is kind of a myth, and it was a selling point for Minn Kota and Humminbird, having them networked, where guys go, well, I need to get my stuff. I need my Minn Kota and my Humminbird networks. That way I can find that break line and just hit heading lock, and it'll just stay on that 20-foot break or 30-foot break or whatever it may be. And I tell people all the time, absolutely do not do that. And here's the reason why. No matter how you look at it, those fish, I don't care. I'll argue forever with live scopes proving it. Not every fish sits right on that edge, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you got your boat staying right on that edge, it's nice because no matter what happens, you can go do whatever, correct? But I always tell guys, troll. Never troll a straight line.
Yeah, right.
And as soon as you're out, if your outside line gets hit, okay, that's a faster crank. If it's your inside rods every time, it's a slower. Back down your speed. How slow, how fast, you just got to play around with it. There is no definite ingrained in stone that you have to troll this speed, this crank, this depth.
In a straight line or following the break or here's the other proof in the pudding, right? Every time, not every time, but a lot of times you go make the turn, and what happens? The inside one fish, right?
Well, a lot of time you got to remember some of those fish are following, right?
Yeah.
For a long time.
Make that turn, one stalls out, that fish might hit it.
Yeah.
Or when you pull it back away, the fish might be behind it, it stalls out, and then it speeds up and the fish comes and grabs it. I remember when I was a kid, we were on Lake Thompson, just kind of got into the pulling crankbaits, and I'm sitting there. We always went up to Casca in the fall. My dad would take white house paint and dip our crankbaits in it, and we go pull the flats in the evening in the cast. Big fish in the early 90s when it was no slot, but I'm sitting there in Lake Thompson and I'm just doing this with my rod, and my dad's yelling at me for messing with the rod because and I'm a little guy, and I put the rod back in the rod holder and boom, fish on. And he's like, what the hell just happened?
Yep.
And that's when we figured out, you'll watch guys snap their lines, pull their line, just change up that action of that bait for a second.
Mm-hmm.
It can change everything. So
I'll let it out slow.
Trapper said, Francis Case, I trolled the guy on top of the trees when I was a co-angler in 2003. He used 2-ounce bottom bouncers. He made custom so the bouncer would bounce off the tree branches.
Makes sense. I had Frank Bauer make me
long wire.
I think they're 24-inch bouncers.
Yep.
In that, so the whole point there was to either stay above the weeds, or I guess I never thought to run those through the trees, but gosh, I got a few dozen of those, and it might be worth a try. I know one thing I learned last weekend, being the third guy in the boat again and being at the mercy of where the boat's going and what's going on, is taking that live deucer and running it perpendicular to the boat, and seeing the break and seeing that 20 down to 10, that drop, or 30 to 20, whatever it was. And then to see the fish on the edge or just behind or suspended. Oh, like, okay, you can go ahead and run them backwards all day long, but the minute you turn that thing, depending on, I was on one side of the boat, so for the most part, we were going, I was pointing in shallow.
Yeah.
I really wanted to be on the other side because I wanted to see 30 foot to 40 to 50 foot, see what I'd see. But boy, I'll tell you what, when you've got live scope and you've got side imaging and then you've got your map or your 2D sonar, holy Hannah.
We got a comment for you.
Well, okay, what do we, Stout Boys chasing the Capitol Lake? Oh, yeah, so you guys, that's like shooting fish in a barrel at Capitol Lake there, but they got some nice fish in there now, so.
Yeah, they just
you were talking about somebody said something about, you were talking about the bottom bouncers with the longer metal on them.
Yeah.
I knew of an old timer that fished a lot up there on Oahe that he would take like fuel line and would fill it full of sand about 4 to 5 foot long, and then have it on a 3-way rig, and then drag crawler harnesses over the top of the trees. And when that rubber hose filled with sand would tick the top of the trees, he knew it was deep enough, and would just watch the rod tip. And if he lost it, it was no big deal. It was a tube,
yeah, right,
1/4-inch fuel line filled full of sand or whatever, and you get another one. So, I mean, there's so many cool kind of, I guess one of the things I always like about trolling, it's the tradition, right? Like when you talk walleye fishing, I guarantee you, no matter how popular live scope gets, the articles in live scoping will never outright the articles in the magazines, etc., on trolling for walleye in our life.
No.
Yeah, that's the truth. Yeah, that's so true.
And it works, right? I mean, it works, and it's not that it costs it's not that expensive. I mean, it gets expensive, right? I mean, it's fishing. Everything gets expensive, but I mean, you're not buying one item that's $3,000 to be able to cast, right? You're buying, $3,000, you can have a heck of a trolling setup with a lot of baits and a lot of rods, and you know what I mean? Like you can have a lot of stuff if you have $3,000 for trolling.
Yeah. And
that's very true.
For some reason, the other thing with trolling is there will be guys, if you meet somebody at a boat ramp and they were catching them trolling in an area, they're a lot more receptive to tell you what they were doing and what color they were on, right?
Yeah.
Versus, and I'm not trying, I mean, I live scope too, don't get me wrong, but you ask a guy where he was catching his fish and he was live scope and he's going to go in the mouth, in the water.
Yeah, you can't, because it's spot specific. You can't, and here's the deal. You can go ahead and give your spot up because, good luck dropping right on that spot where that fish or those trees that the fish happen to be in, whatever. But still, it's kind of like it's giving up the secret. And then just try to go. If you told me tonight, if both of you told me tonight that you fished out of Mobridge and you fished here, here, and here and absolutely whacked them, and I went out there and did exactly what you did in the exact same spot, chances are I'm coming home with either the same thing or nothing. Right. I mean, you just hard to duplicate that.
Yeah.
Time and time again. I mean, and you know how it is. You fish heck of a lot more than we do. So you're out fishing the same spot time and time again. I know, for me, I fish memories because that's what I've got. I fished 3 weeks ago. I'm going to go try that spot. It was good there. Well, it sucked last weekend. Okay, well, I'm going somewhere else. And then the thing is with live scope now, we can go fish where the fish are.
Yeah.
Right now, we don't know that they're all walleye, but you get a pretty damn good idea if you make a couple of runs and you don't catch anything and nothing happens. Time to leave because they're suckers or carp or whatever the heck they are.
I don't think trolling will ever be. Trolling will never disappear, right? I mean, you can put 4 to 5 guys. I mean, look at there's some outfitters up by you guys that run pontoons, that they'll put 8-10 guys in it and troll. It just doesn't. You can't do that with live scope, and that's one of the things with trolling that I think is so unique. It's a camaraderie. It's a pastime. There's some dead time in between. Eat a sandwich, talk, visit, whatever. It's so. I just feel that, trolling is one of those techniques that no matter where we go in this industry, it's always going to be relevant.
100%.
It can't go away. I mean, here's the thing. There's too many people out there fishing without live scope that don't own it. They're going to have to troll. Bouncers, cranks, whatever. I mean, so it's not over. I think, and I did an episode on it a couple of weeks ago about being laser focused on the trees when the fish had moved off the trees and started getting into the shallows, and so gosh, we can't be so laser focused on, well, I'm live scoping over the trees because that's where the big ones are, go where the fish are, I guess. And there we got Tom unfroze.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's, like I said, you can cover ground, and then you can figure out where fish are hanging, and then you can go back and live scope them. There's so many different aspects to it. And you take your kids out and they're not sitting there casting all day and getting frustrated. Go grab that rod, there's a fish. Grab that rod, there's a fish. So it's just something fun to do. But we started talking about head to head, and we got a few comments. That go back to that we kind of got off. Sean Grahams came in and said he totally agrees with you guys. 5 giants in the live weight walk. Scale feels like that's what head to head is missing. 100%.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. It's not like, I mean, we're not being negative and tearing them down, right? We're just simply stating the fact that, it's Tom Goodmestead here.
Yeah.
A good topic. Artificially only for National Walleye Tour and other circuits. So Tom, you agree with Heiser? Innovation, sponsorships, possibly live cameras in the boat, bait companies contribute. I mean, all about live cams in the boat. That takes a lot of work. It's not as easy as one might think it is, but it can be done.
And everybody's, we all know that's another whole series. We could, you guys could have 10 other pros on that. We all feel the same way. The walleye is missing something, right?
No doubt.
And it's just, there's so many facets that so many of us agree or will not say out loud that are missing. Mm-hmm. But I think as long as, at the end of the day, whatever the tournament series that it is, at least hopefully that is still keeping it in the eye of the public in a good perspective and keeping more relevant to the industry to keep the sport growing. But I think, head to head, what they decided, I think it's good for some bodies of water. Maybe it'll give them some bodies of water to where they won't be able to do something. But, I kind of liked seeing them last year, with the fact that it was just total of, how many inches, or just the total fish in one day a guy can catch. And I understand, like Sean said, there is something about taking that giant bag on stage, right? Been there, done that. That's a different feeling that you just can't duplicate. I agree. But I also think that there's different things that we're going to have to start doing or changing in order to compete in that bass world criteria.
You want, okay, so we'll go down this road, and I love this conversation. So if catch, measure, release was the answer, don't you think the number one in the fishing tournament industry would be doing it?
Yeah.
Bassmasters?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, so that's not the answer.
No.
Artificial only, I could go either way on it. I agree. I think companies are learning to, everybody said Live Scope was going to put bait companies out of business. No, if they're on their game and they transfer and they do whatever, and they integrate for forward-facing baits. Look at how many started making glide baits and different shaped jig heads and all the different things they did, right? Like that was something.
Yep.
I mean, you get live cams in boats, that gets really expensive. I want to straight up tell you the number one thing that's going to grow walleye fishing is for walleye fishermen to start talking about what they're doing.
Yep.
You can have a guy over here that won't tell you a thing, that when they do tell you, they say they were throwing a jigging wrap and they were really throwing a mooch minnow, or they were not even throwing, and I get it. They got sponsorship obligations. If you're sponsored by Rapala and you're throwing a finisher, it doesn't look good. But I'll never forget, there was an interview from the Classic that G-Man did, and he's like, I threw the jackhammer. I'm not sponsored by him. I paid $15.99 like all you guys. And you just got to understand that your sponsors, yes, the jigging wrap is my go-to bait, or the mooch minnow is my go-to bait, but there's a day the finisher is going to catch me the fish.
Yep, exactly. And that's
the finisher is what you caught. I caught them all on jigging wrap. Well, I watched you, or whatever, and I saw you had a finisher on. You got to start telling people things. The best one was Brandon Polinick in Florida this year when he beat the hell out of everybody. He's on live. There's 5 other boats in there, and he throws the baits to the other boat, say, I'm using this, and he still beat them.
Yep.
Because there was no secret. Right. I'm throwing this bait. Here it is, guys. Beat me in my hole.
Yep.
And they didn't. So, I mean, they just got to come in and open up. I mean, we're not going to grow the sport if you're going to be secretive. A guy like Brian Tipton that's asking us about trolling tonight.
Yep.
Share what you did. I don't expect you to do it day one, but day 2, when you can't even talk about how you caught the fish, there's a problem. Yeah. I mean, picking on people we had on here, Toby Hofer, we knew he was throwing a jigging wrap. We tried 15 to 20 times to get the color out of him. Never tell us the color.
Right.
Okay. That I mean, different story, right? I mean, different scenario, but we got to be more transparent. We got to do more things like this where we're putting ourselves out there, especially in the digital age of people want to see stuff, and they want to see the stuff in real life. I mean, Chasen and, we try to do the best coverage in the walleye world we can do. And I feel like we've set a bar that nobody else can come with. And, you've been on live, you and Nick, when you're in the boat.
Yep.
People are digging that, right? It's hard to do because of service. weather conditions, all kinds of different aspects that you don't even think about. It's like, oh, just get them live in the boat. Well, okay.
Yeah.
Easier said than done.
But then people get upset that the video glitched or the audio's not good or whatever, right? And I'm like, 8 years ago, none of this happened. If you want to know what was winning the Gov Cup, you drove out to Spring Creek and looked at a dry erase board.
Right.
That's what you did, but we have a tool in front of us. It's not hard to use.
Yeah. We need to work on it. We're making strides every day, every tournament. That part of the problem, I think people don't understand. Nobody's practicing between tournaments. You're going out there and you're winging it. We did the Stockmans and we had microphones working, and then the microphones didn't work. Well, okay, so now we found out we have to have backups for the backup and there's a lot of stuff that comes into play, and you got to have the willingness of people to talk, to be a part of it, to come in to do an interview, and then to be truthful about the interview. And I see a lot of good things starting to finally happen. And maybe it's because of this guy, he's starting to, I don't want to say give up the secrets, but Tom Wynn's out there teaching regular average people how to fish like a tournament fisherman. Now, do those people need or want to be tournament fishermen? Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but they sure as hell want to catch fish like a tournament fisherman can. So, Tom, I think Tom gets a lot of heat over the fact that he's given stuff up. And I don't know that is he really giving that much stuff up, Tom?
I will say, after the end of Bitter, what was it, 2 years ago or a year ago now, when you interviewed me and I showed you the crankbait that we could,
Yep.
I bet you at least 10 people that messaged me and said, nice decoy.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, there was no reason for me. Like, that's not the first time I've done that. Like, I just think that we are ambassadors and teachers all in one when we do this. And I think that is getting severely lost with a large number of the pros that fish tournaments. I have seen, unfortunately, some pros at the end of a tournament not do so well, be at a gas station filling up. Somebody comes over, talk to them. They're very rude to them. Guy, it's like, listen, when we are driving our trucks, the boat is wrapped. Your name's all over everything. Your sponsorships names are all over everything. It's just not when you're fishing, right? Like, it is 24/7. And people pay attention to that. And some of these pros are going to have to start and be rectified and start being held accountable and start realizing that there's going to be us guys that are not that way. They're going to take their sponsorships and they're going to look and be like, what happened? It's like, you're always on a camera. You're always on and being pictures, everything. When somebody comes up and talk to you, that person could be the nephew of a CEO that you've been trying to get a sponsorship with for 5 years, and all of a sudden he tells a story that met you at a gas station and have a conversation. You reached into your boat and you hand him a bait and said, I would try here, here, and here. That could land you the biggest sponsorship you ever had, because they want people that other people can talk to and relate to and not be so standoffish with.
And you didn't lose anything by it, right?
No. And that's one of the things that Tom Wynn is, and I've known Tom Wynn, a lot of people know this. I've known Tom Wynn since his first year when he did NWT. And Tom Wynn that I met the day that I fished with him on Erie is the same Tom Wynn that it is today. There's no difference. Everybody goes, well, he's won. Yeah, okay, he's won stuff. But I'm telling you, it's the same guy that if you zeroed, he would still tell you something.
Yeah, right.
And be honest.
Yep. And be a real dude, like my mom had a fungus in some fingernails. So I called him and I just said, so he goes, I'll come down there. I'll take care of it. Now where are you at? You're in Brookings. Like, you're not going to drive 180 miles. Oh yeah, I'll do that. That's not a problem. I got to have a couple days, and that's Tom, right? I mean, all
And
the
that's
way
one of the
around.
things that I've always tried, and that's always been the joke. Jason, when you've interviewed me for any different ones, right? Before the tournament, I ain't saying nothing. After the first day, on the second day, you ask whatever. You
Right.
want a GPS pin, I'll give it to you. You want to know the boat speed, I'll take a video of it. So, and I always thought that was a negative turn on by so many different pros in the years past. Anytime a common guy would go to talk to him, it's a stereotype, and I hate doing it, but it is a stereotype that they're just like, they're just a fisherman. I don't need to waste my time with them.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, and that's just it, right? Like, be approachable. Your sponsors, I tell people all the time when they talk about sponsoring of Tournament Angler, when you come to look at coverage, we'll just pick the Gov Cup and we'll pick on you. You come across the stage, if you do well, you get 5 minutes of airtime in the weekend. You don't do well, you walk across stage, you get a minute, 2 minutes of airtime. That's all your sponsors are seeing. But your boat parked at Cowboy Country Store in town with all your sponsors on it, that's what they're paying for. It's not the airtime across the stage.
Yep.
I mean, you pick on the NWT because I don't really care. If you don't have the right products,
they don't give you time.
The right motor, when you were running your Yarcraft with
Yamahas,
you were getting zero airtime.
Yep. And then the next year when I had anything I did since I had the Mercury, I got twice the time.
I mean, and I get it. You got sponsor obligations and you got these things, but we're sponsored by Vex's Boats. I'm still going to talk to you in the Yarcraft.
Yep.
You can't pigeonhole yourself, and the tournament industry does it. The walleye industry does it. And you look forward. You look at that and you say, okay, Bass Pro sponsors the Bassmaster Classic, right? The Bass Pro Bassmaster Classic brought to you by Shields. They don't care. They're taking every aspect they can get. I mean, and that's what you got to do, because not everybody's going to run a Ranger boat. They're just not. The majority, yep, but not everybody's going to do it. So, and if you can't give that guy airtime, a guy like, you or Tom Wynn, if Tom Wynn didn't have Garmin's on that boat and be so good, he would get zero airtime.
Yep, because running a Vexus in a Ranger sponsorship circuit.
And runs Suzuki's, right?
Yep.
He's nothing other than Garmin on his boat.
Yep.
If he were sponsored by Lowrance, what would he have?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's not okay. And I get it. I know who's right. We all know who's writing the check there. But if we want to grow the tournament industry, the walleye tournament industry, one, we got to be upstanding and we got to be good people. And we got to be able to lay all the money on the table and nobody take a penny until you win it.
Yep.
And you got to open your mouth and talk about what you're doing.
Well, how about when you come to a tournament, and I don't care what tournament it is, whether it's one of ours, the Fishing Crew tournaments, or National Walleye Tour, Masters Walleye Circuit, I don't see people standing in line asking for interviews. Now, Tom, when I'm at Bitter or wherever, he's like, hey, okay, so when we're done here, do you want to interview me? You know, yes, I do. Let's go. And so that's the big turnoff for me. You can post on Facebook.
Yes,
Yeah.
Scrapper. We know that, right? But I think every guy look up. So here's the funny part. There's probably, I'm just going to say half your audience that has no idea anything about Trapper, right?
Right.
So I'm just going to tell everybody this right now. I'm not a small guy, and I look like a 2-year-old when I'm standing next to him. Okay.
Right.
And
right.
I'm not. It's just honest truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So that joke, now that everybody knows how funny that is, because I am pretty sure that Jeff, like, if he gets mad at me, he's just gonna flick me with a finger and I'm done. So
That's funny.
Through the wall.
We need more people to be outspoken and holy cats, you want to talk, it's hard to find 5 or 6 guys that want to sit down and have an interview, and why isn't it 10? Why isn't it 15? Why are we turning people away? So
I'm always so grateful. Like, that's one of the things that, I will never quit asking or volunteering for interviews or to speak on something, because it's just me, right? I have the ability to depict and talk about what I do and my passion, and people see that, but I want other people to know it too.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been a firm believer, if I don't talk about what I do, whether it's tournaments, guiding, tying knots, spending time with my kids on vacation, fishing, with catching perch, bluegill, whatever, the heritage and everything that was passed on will eventually die out. We are sportsmen. We need to help protect our outdoors, our fisheries. That is our job as being, a guide, a tournament angler, whatever, or just a regular fisherman.
Steward.
Steward of the land is, and that's where I get so frustrated. Like, and just like you said, Curt, like, you nailed it on the head. There's so many guys that just don't want to spend time to talk to somebody about something, and I don't understand that. To me, if they act that way, I wish there was a way that, to me, if they did that once or twice and there was multiple people said it, they should be done. Put somebody else in their shoes that's going to make more positive impact on people. There's enough negativity in the world with social media and everything else that we live in. We don't need more people being that way in this industry.
No, I mean, and it's our job to create the next Bo Schillings or the Tom Woodens or it doesn't matter. Tom is perfect example. Bo Schilling grew up in this world, right? Time he could walk, he was out there doing it. Tom Wynn started way later in life.
Yep.
And it's because he met people and he likes doing it, and then they keep moving on and moving on and moving on. And if you can get these young kids and the older generation and all these things and teach them, that, hey, use this bait, do this. And it also goes as far as, you don't need to bring in all your overs every day.
No.
Just for your eaters. Throw them back, right? Don't target them if you're going out just to get dinner for tonight, right? And you don't need to go out every day and keep your limit, right? Like, it all comes into sportsmanship all the way around. But your boy Jake knows that we're not going to go out and catch 5 big ones every day.
Yep.
Just to take home and put on Facebook.
Yep.
That's all the teaching of the industry and teaching the things. And, it's crazy in all the years of sitting in my shoes, the guys I've almost counseled, like, I could have started a fishing counselor service to get guys, talking with, now Tom and Chasen are fighting in the boat and they can't get along here. And I'm talking to Chasen, I'm talking to Tom, and, or you're looking at going to the NWT, but you want to do the coast side. And what do you expect? And that's the thing. And then you get guys that put podcasts out there and straight up tell you they hate co-anglers. You want to fish against them. You want the money. You're mad that there's only, averaging Trapper, you could probably tell us what the NWT average this year. Not 125 like they needed.
Nope.
So why? Well, we're pushing co-anglers away that will never make the jump to the pro side because they don't get the experience out there. I'm all about team events. I think it's, walleye fishing, especially since now we're live scoping, we're kind of transitioning, but when it was a trolling game, it's a 2-man sport.
Well, and there's, I mean, there's still a lot two guys can do in a tournament live scoping. Like, and that's where like you see, and you know, and I'll just because I know for a fact, like Tom's had guys he'll bring them up on the front deck with him, you know, and here, you know, pitch this, you know, right there. Like he wants to get them to get hooked up, right? And I know for a fact that I've had reports that guys that I know that were co-anglers that they were at the back of the boat watching a slip bobber or pulling a bottom bouncer, and the only thing they did was net a fish.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that, guys. Like you know, and I understand not everybody when you say 20 feet or 45 feet can hit that quarter-sized mark every time, right? But if you don't give the guy a chance to do this,
never going to figure it out.
He may be just nervous his first cast, and then you send him to the back of the boat. You know, there's a lot of pressure on these guys. I fished MWT as a co. You know, and everybody's like, "What'd you do?" I wanted to see what it was like. I wanted to get my feel of the rules, the regs, you know, see who people were. Kind of.
Nope.
And he's gone.
I mean, and that's just it. You know, I mean, Trapper came in and said 55 or 57 touring anglers. I mean, you wonder why. I mean, you're going to bodies of water that are not great. You're going to different things like that just aren't, you know, conducive. And then we push the co-angler so far down. And yeah, live scope doesn't help. I mean, I'll say it. Go watch the most recent ep of Tour Level Gold. You heard everybody talk about Dunkirk, how you could blind cast all day long and catch fish. There's one of the Tour Level Gold guys had his co-angler in the back with bottom bouncers out.
I don't have sound. I don't know what happened.
You have sound. I hear you.
We hear you. Yeah. Yeah, and it's really expensive. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. No doubt.
So we'll bring Tom back in. Can you hear us now? Are you back?
Nope, I don't think so.
Well, we're getting to that 1 hour mark anyways.
I lost my audio, guys.
There you go.
I don't know what happened.
You know, I mean, you like you're saying, we're kind of cutting you out. We're gonna probably pop off here anyways. Yep. We're at the hour mark. We appreciate
guys
jumping in and throwing your cents in. We appreciate all the comments.
Well, I had to laugh because my wife came home and she looked at me like, "What are you doing on? I didn't know you were supposed to do that tonight." I'm like, "Yeah, it just happened." So improv at its best, right?
Yeah.
Yep, I love that Q&A and that going back and forth and getting, you know, it was awesome that you jumped on and that everybody else had comments and different things to say. So
yeah, like I said before, anybody that's going to be at the Dakota Angler Ice Institute, Jake and I will be there. More than happy to talk more about any of these topics. You know, if you just want to show me pictures of fish you caught, I'd love to see those too, guys.
Awesome. I'm not going to be at the Dakota Angler Ice Institute this year because I'm not going to make that long drive, but I will go to Bismarck next weekend for the Ice Fest at Shields. But other than that, you guys have a good, safe travel and a good weekend at the Ice Institute.
All right. We'll see you guys. Right. Good seeing you again.
All right, everybody. Thank you much. Have a good one.
Thanks, everybody, for